Have you ever felt it? A deep sense that we are on the threshold of a profound transformation. A feeling that the currents of our time are not just chaotic, but are flowing towards a great and necessary convergence. What if I shared with you an insight, drawn not from one person, but from the timeless wisdom of cycles? An insight that suggests the events leading into the year 2026 are not random, but part of a predictable pattern that will fundamentally reshape your understanding of our shared journey. Stay with me, because what we are about to explore touches the very heart of our collective path. There is a stream of ancient knowledge, a deep river of observation that flows through human history. It teaches that life moves in cycles, much like the seasons. Sages and wise observers have long noted these patterns, not by peering into a mystical future, but by understanding the unchanging laws of cause and effect. They recorded how societies rise and fall, how consciousness evolves through trials, and how certain predictable moments of great testing arrive. These are not prophecies of doom. They are maps of the human spirit's journey, and deep within this body of wisdom, we find a stark and clear description of a time that mirrors our own, pointing to a moment of reckoning now unfolding before our very eyes. Here is where the reflection becomes intensely personal for us today. These ancient streams of thought speak of a period of great rebalancing, a time when a society must face the consequences of its choices. They describe the emergence of a powerful leader during a time of great separation, a figure who embodies the collective fractures within a nation. They speak of tremors in the systems that provide for us, challenges from the natural world itself, and a moment where the very essence of a nation's values is weighed. Does this landscape feel familiar to you? Yet the wisdom goes deeper. It doesn't just point to general turbulence. It outlines a powerful convergence of forces culminating in the mid-2020s. And when you place this ancient template over our current reality, the alignment is profound and deeply sobering. It speaks of a commanding return, a second chance for a figure of great controversy, pointing specifically toward 2026 as a year of intense culmination. Let us be very clear. This ancient wisdom never names individuals. How could it? It is concerned with the flow, not the specific waves. It speaks of archetypes, of universal patterns and energetic cycles. It addresses the karmic balance of a nation, the lessons it has chosen to learn, and it describes a specific kind of leading energy that would arise in a time of great shadow, an energy of the great builder, one connected to grand towers and the glimmer of gold, one who promises a return to strength, yet who will in turn face a challenge that mirrors the very foundations upon which that strength was built. A particularly powerful teaching directs our awareness to this time. It originates from a place of deep stillness and describes a period of intense upheaval for a nation. It speaks of shifts in the way power is held and of a time when people would question the very ground they stand on. This wisdom suggests that in the 2020s, we would witness a shifting of the poles. While this can be seen as a change in the earth itself, a deeper understanding reveals it as a metaphor for our human world, the extreme separation of our inner beliefs, tearing at the shared fabric of community. If this search for deeper understanding resonates with your own journey, I invite you to join our community. This is a space for those who seek clarity in the midst of noise. Subscribe and let us walk this path of awareness together. Now for the insight that commands our full attention. In this same body of teaching, it describes a period around 2026 when a leader, once elevated and then cast down, would face the ultimate test of their path. It speaks not of literal towers falling, but of the collapse of structures of influence, of power, of belief. It describes how this leader might be given another opportunity to guide, but this return would not manifest the promised calm. Instead, it would act as the catalyst that accelerates the very rebalancing it was intended to avert. I invite you to be arm. Take a moment for yourself, and if this resonates, type that sentence in the comments below. Let it be a quiet declaration of your own inner strength and intention on this path. Think of the symbolism of great towers. of building toward the heavens, an entire identity founded on symbols of visible success, of golden assurance. When these same images appear in teachings about a nation's decisive chapter, it becomes a powerful mirror for reflection, but it extends beyond mere symbols. This wisdom connects to timing. It observes the great celestial cycles, noting how certain alignments in the heavens coincide with turning points for both nations and their guides. Researchers of these cycles have noted a convergence of several major celestial events in 2026. A rare pattern, one associated in ancient texts with the humbling of those who have reached too far, too fast. This alignment occurs in late 2026, and within this framework of understanding, it signifies a point of profound transformation. So, what does this stream of wisdom suggest will unfold? It points to the return of this deeply polarizing leader, but it suggests their second chapter in this role would be defined by three great waves of change, arriving in close succession. First, a profound economic rebalancing that sends ripples across the world. The wisdom describes it as a dissolving of weak foundations, a moment where systems built on illusion and imbalance can no longer support their own weight. It suggests this would happen with great speed, unsettling many, and would be triggered by a fracturing of old agreements and trade relationships. With all the talk of reshaping global order and disrupting established flows, does this perspective not give you pause? The teaching suggests the leader's own actions would become the unintentional trigger for the very instability they sought to master. And in 2026, this economic wave would reach the shore with its full power. The second wave described is of an environmental nature. The wisdom speaks of the earth responding with increasing intensity during this time. Specifically, it points to the eastern shores of a great landmass facing challenges from the water. Ancient observers have long known the earth is a living system, and while specific timings can flow and change, the pattern is clear. Human choices, especially those made by leaders who turn away from nature's signals, accelerate these rebalancing events. In 2026, the teachings see the consequences of this relationship made visible through immense flooding and the raw power of the climate as the sea reclaims what was built in defiance of its flow. This is not a judgment, but a natural consequence. The teachings connect this directly to the mindset of the leadership in power at that time. But it is the third wave that asks for our deepest contemplation. The wisdom speaks of a crisis of the very principles that hold the nation together, a moment where the idea of democracy itself would face a profound test. It describes a scenario where a leader resists the natural limits of their role, where the institutions of governance clash, and where the people are faced with a stark choice between the illusion of security and the reality of freedom. The term inner conflict is used repeatedly to describe this time. And here, the insight becomes deeply sobering. It describes a specific trigger point. It is called the reckoning of the builders, a moment when those who built their power on unstable ground must face a legal and public accounting. You have seen a former leader facing legal storms unheard of in history, challenges that have split a nation in two. This wisdom suggests that in 2026, these currents would reach their full force, a point where they could no longer be navigated or diverted. The texts say this would happen while the leader holds their position, creating a test for the republic like none before. It is a moment where people must decide what they truly hold sacred. The outcome, it is said, would not be what anyone predicts, as both sides find themselves transformed by the process. Now, a quiet thought may be rising in you. This seems too specific, too detailed. How could ancient wisdom contain such clarity about our time? This is a healthy question, but we must understand that this wisdom is not a singular prediction. It's the documented result of observing patterns. It notes how history rhymes. Great empires have faced these same tests. It saw the patterns that led to world conflicts long before they began. It described the cycles that govern economic collapse with quiet precision. It spoke of profound discoveries that would unearth scrolls of lost knowledge decades before they were found. This body of knowledge holds a coherence that statistics would tell you is not a product of random chance. So when this same wisdom points so clearly to our decade, it invites us to listen with an open heart. Let us go deeper still into why 2026 is highlighted. In one text reflecting on the future of self-governance, it was said that, in the middle of this decade, a great nation would stand at a fork in the path. One way leads toward an evolved awareness, the other, a falling back into older, more rigid patterns of control. The number 26 was mentioned specifically in connection with this choice. Now, ancient wisdom often speaks in symbol, but the records are clear, and this number appears more than once in passages about this nation's journey. What precisely did this insight illuminate? By weaving together multiple strands of this wisdom, a clear picture emerges. It describes a scenario where the controversial leader enacts changes that at first appear to bear fruit. There would be a brief season, perhaps the first year of the return, where followers feel their faith is rewarded. The numbers on the surface might seem healthy, but the wisdom warns this is a false dawn, describing it as the stillness before the cleansing storm. In 2026, according to these teachings, three currents converge. The economic choices reveal their true cost. The global partnerships that were frayed would break completely, leaving the nation standing alone at a critical hour. And the inner fractures would reach a boiling point, expressing as civil unrest without precedent. But here is what makes this teaching truly profound. It does not predict success or failure as we understand them. It predicts transformation through fire. It teaches that what seems like a catastrophe is actually the necessary pressure required for evolution. The old structures must crumble so that something new, something more aligned with life, can be born. It suggests the leader at the eye of this storm is fulfilling a purpose in a much larger story, whether they are aware of it or not. This teaching would describe such a leader not as good or bad, but as a force of disruption whose role is to show everyone where the cracks in the foundation lie. From this perspective, everything that unfolds in 2026, all the chaos, all the pain, serves a higher purpose. It forces a people to look in the mirror, to examine their values, and to decide, consciously, who they choose to become. The teachings are clear. By the end of that year, the nation will be transformed at its very core. The change will be irreversible. Now, we must touch upon something that can be difficult to face. The wisdom also speaks of the potential for physical conflict. One text describes a time when a nation would come dangerously close to turning upon itself, a time of armed groups, and a moment where the guardians of the peace are forced to choose their allegiance. This is not presented as an unavoidable fate, but as a very real possibility, dependent on the choices made from a place of awareness or a place of fear. The trigger, according to the teachings, would be a decisive action by the leader, an action seen by one half of the people as essential, and by the other as an act of tyranny. This action, it is said, occurs in 2026, and it brings the nation to the very edge of the abyss. It speaks of soldiers in the streets of great cities, not from an outside force, but from a breakdown within. It is a moment at the crossroads where a nation either chooses to step back into unity or plunges into fragmentation. Yet, here is the teaching that offers a steady light in the darkness. In the same texts that describe these difficult possibilities, a pathway through is always illuminated. The wisdom speaks of a spiritual renewal that is born from the crucible of crisis. It speaks of people remembering the heart connection that transcends political belief, of communities rebuilding bridges over the chasms of division. It says that the great test of 2026 would ultimately serve to unite, not to permanently divide, but only after the fever has been allowed to break. The wisdom is even specific about the timing within 2026. It mentions the period between late summer and late autumn as particularly critical. You know what takes place in the autumn of that year? The midterm elections. According to this ancient view, these elections would be a moment unlike any other. They are described as a referendum not on policies, but on the soul of governance itself. And the results, it suggests, would surprise all sides, for the old ways of measuring victory would no longer apply. One of the most gentle and hopeful aspects of these teachings involves what is called the unexpected guide. It describes a figure who would emerge from the heart of the 2026 crisis, someone from a completely unexpected walk of life who offers a third path. This would not be a person of politics. They would come from outside that entire system. And according to this wisdom, this person would begin to reunite people by focusing on what is fundamentally human and practical, rather than on the battles of ideology. Could this be a person we already know, or someone yet to step into the light? The texts offer no name, but they describe a character, a healer. They call this person someone whose life has been about mending and bringing things together, who remained outside the world of power until the crisis itself called them to serve. It is a possibility to hold in your awareness as that year approaches. So let us address the heart of the matter. Can the stream of the future be guided? The ancient wisdom believes that our path is not carved in stone. It states that these insights show us probable currents based on our present momentum, but that human free will, our power to choose from a place of awareness, can change the course of the river. The purpose of this knowledge is not to paralyze us with fear, but to awaken us so that we may choose differently. If these insights for 2026 are accurate reflections of our current path, must they unfold exactly this way? The wisdom itself says no. If enough people awaken, if enough guides choose from a place of service over ego, if the collective consciousness shifts, the timeline itself becomes fluid. But it also warns that the closer we drift to the waterfall without changing course, the stronger its pull becomes. We are now moving swiftly toward that pivotal year. The archetypes the wisdom speaks of are in place. The great divisions have deepened. Global harmony is fracturing. The economic warning signs are clear. All the elements for this great rebalancing are present. The question is not what will happen, but what will we choose? Some believe these teachings are designed to be self-healing. By illuminating a difficult potential path, they inspire the very actions needed to avoid it. From this view, the simple fact that we are contemplating these possibilities may be part of the change itself. Others believe that some experiences are necessary gateways, that the crisis must unfold for the lessons to be integrated. The ancient wisdom holds another key. It speaks of focused, unified intention by groups of people literally being able to alter the flow of events. It describes how the quality of our collective consciousness, our shared state of being, creates our shared reality. The more we can hold a calm and clear vision of a different path, the more that path becomes a tangible possibility. This brings us to another profound aspect of these teachings. They speak of a moment in 2026 when time itself will feel like it is speeding up, when changes that might normally take a generation unfold in a matter of months or even weeks. It's described as a point of compression, a moment where the river of history quickens as it passes through a narrow gorge. Those who have studied these esoteric arts connect this to great leaps in human awareness. What would this look like in our world? Imagine several great waves arriving at once. In 2026, an economic shock, a major earth event, and a crisis of governance, all happening in a short span. In the stillness and shock that follows such a convergence, old habits and hardened beliefs would be washed away. In that open space, the teachings say, something new can finally take root, new ways to live together, new forms of leadership, new understandings of value. It is described as the pain of new birth, the discomfort that is necessary before a new life can emerge. But the wisdom is also clear about the danger. In moments of great fear, people become vulnerable to simplistic, authoritarian answers. They trade their freedom for a promise of safety. They accept limitations because the unknown feels too great. The texts warn that in 2026 this temptation will be immense, and that to choose a path of freedom will require tremendous inner stillness and courage from every single person. The role of the polarizing leader in all of this, viewed through the lens of this wisdom, is not simple. It is complex, like a great story. This figure is not the hero or the villain. They are the catalyst, the focused energy that brings all the hidden imbalances to the surface. One might say this soul chose to play this exact role before this life began, to fulfill a karmic purpose for the entire nation. From this elevated view, everything that happens, even the most painful parts, serves the evolution of the collective heart. What of the leader's personal journey in 2026? The teachings describe this figure facing their own moment of profound truth, a point where a choice must be made between the identity of the ego and the call of true service. This figure, it is said, will be offered a choice to step aside and allow the transformation to flow, or to hold on and resist. The choice they make, according to the wisdom, will determine whether the passage is a powerful storm or a devastating hurricane. Now we arrive at the insight that may require the most of us to accept. This wisdom suggests that regardless of our thoughts about this leader, no matter if we feel support or resistance, this person is simply reflecting a necessary part of the great unfolding. Our work is not to judge the reflection in the mirror, but to see what it reveals within ourselves. What are our own shadows around power, control, truth, and justice? How do we act when our deepest values feel threatened? These are the questions, this wisdom says, that we must each answer for ourselves as we walk through this time toward that pivotal year. The signs will become clearer. The teachings gave markers to observe. It mentioned tensions with the great power in the East reaching a critical point. It spoke of the world's primary form of currency facing a deep challenge. It described environmental challenges on the West Coast and floods on the East Coast occurring in the same season. It talked of a great disruption in technology that would silence global communication. These were to be the signals that the great rebalancing was unfolding as the patterns suggested. But please remember, the wisdom always speaks of hope. It says that after the crucible of 2026, the nation will emerge not broken, but reborn. It sees a period beginning around 2027 or 2028 where new, healthier systems begin to grow, where a leadership of true service appears, and where people rediscover their shared humanity. The crisis was never the end of the story. It was the turning of the page. What can you do with this awareness? This is the only real question. This ancient wisdom would first say, do not enter a state of fear. Fear clouds the mind and feeds the very energy we wish to transform. Second, make simple, practical preparations. Have what you need to be a point of stability for yourself and for others during any time of disruption. And third, most importantly, tend to the garden of your own consciousness. Our outer world is a perfect reflection of our collective inner state. As you heal the divisions within yourself, you help heal the divisions in the world. This wisdom teaches that an ordinary person, rooted in stillness, has extraordinary power. The future is not written by those in high towers of power. It is written in the quiet, daily choices of millions of hearts. Every act of compassion, every bridge you build across a divide, every moment you choose understanding over judgment, you shift the entire field of possibility. From this perspective, you are not a helpless witness to events. You are a silent, powerful co-creator of the dawn that follows. This ancient wisdom about 2026 and a nation at a crossroads is ultimately an insight for all of us. It is about a collective destiny, about human evolution, and about the great pains that precede the birth of a new age. Whether one person embodies an archetype, whether events unfold in perfect sequence, or whether we change the current with our conscious choices, we are living through one of the most significant chapters in our shared story. And you have a unique and vital role to play. If this reflection resonated with you, if it offered a new perspective on the path ahead, please share this so that others may also find a place of stillness. The path forward is one of collective awakening. If you are committed to your own inner growth and to being an anchor of peace in this world, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Let this be a place of refuge as we navigate these profound times together. Let us know in the comments how this wisdom sits with you. Is this a time for great fear or a time for even greater courage and connection? Let us hold this inquiry together. The future is not something that happens to us. It is the world we choose to build together.